Sure.
All right, cool. So, welcome, folks. This is The Hype. This is episode 3. Some of you have already seen this before. Some of you, this may be your first time watching The Hype. So far, I've done I've done 2 episodes. This is the third. First episode was Complexity and Sean Gares. Second episode was I Buy Power with Adrin. And this episode is Mousespaz with FNS. And a lot of people, this is a little bit different of a show. In the past, what I've done is I've kind of reviewed the history of the team, the players, talked about international results that they've had, and all that good stuff. However, this episode has a little bit different of a storyline because, unlike the other 2 teams I've already interviewed, most people probably have never even heard of you. Like, to be fair, in CS:GO, right? In 1.6, you guys were definitely, some of you guys were definitely pretty well known in North America. But in CS:GO, you guys are kind of starting to make your splash right now. Like, this is kind of, that's why I named this episode "The Making of Mousespaz," because I feel like this CS:GO LAN you're about to attend could be the event that makes a name for yourself, basically.
Yeah.
So first of all, can you introduce yourself a little bit and kind of just introduce yourself, basically?
Sure. I'm FNS. I'm the in-game leader for MSPAS. That's about it. I don't know what else to say. That's
It's
about it.
cool. I will probe you with questions,
Yeah.
and we'll tease some information out of you, basically. So the starting lineup for your team is Slip, Sobo, Lucky, yourself, which is Finesse, and then Cutler. Is that the 5 you will be using at LAN?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I am going to do kind of a history with your team, though it won't be as deep, I guess, as what I've done in the past with other teams. So you've had a lot of players come in and out of your team over the past few seasons. You guys started in season 12 of ESEA and CS:GO. Some of the past players on your team that have come through that are no longer starting for you guys is Arya and Flosick, I guess, play with you guys at one point, but now, of course,
Flosick?
he was on your roster at one point. I looked it up. I don't know if he ever started a match for you. Maybe he just was on your roster.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. I know I already was, but
Yeah, so
honestly
Arya,
don't remember
then
Flosick.
Mainline was on your team for a while. It's like you guys had some source players on your team, like in the early stages, like NAF and Mainline, and then
Yeah, that was the start.
Steno has also kind of played with you guys in the past as well.
Right.
But basically, just to give like a rundown of your roster and where they've come from or what I have, and then you can add some information. I want to get to know your team, basically. So I'll
Okay.
start off with Slip. So Slip, I think, in my opinion at least, seems to be one of the more experienced players in your team. He's already attended 5 ESEA LANs for 1.6. He also was on Denial with Dazed after the whole Quantic thing fell apart, and he kind of made a name for himself on that team in CS:GO. He did really well. Uh, he seems to be, when you guys do use an op, he seems to be the one that carries it. Maybe what more can you tell me about this guy?
He never actually really used to op ever. We never. I think Steno was our opera for the most part, and then Cutler was our main opera in CS 1.6. When we switched to this game, he was also our opera. And then he didn't really feel it that much, and he just didn't feel like he transitioned well from 1.6 to Go with the op.
Right.
So we just used, well, we didn't know what to do because Cutler didn't want to op anymore. And then when we picked up Slip, this wasn't the first time we were using Slip. We used Slip before he even joined Dave's team. We were about
Right.
to use him that season. If you look at the scrims, we were playing with him a lot, and he was actually on our team at that point with NAF. And then Days decided, I don't know if he had left, but he decided to come back or reform his team or whatever. And he picked up NAF from our team as well as Slip.
Yeah,
And
he
those were
raided
our
y'all's
two,
team.
like, what?
He pretty much raided your guys' team.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
seems
yeah.
like.
Yeah. And then we were kind of screwed over, and then we had to make last minute adjustments. We picked up the people that we knew were reliable, like Steno, for example. We used him, and I think we used him anyway. I don't remember who we used for those 2 people, but we. This is all to say that we weren't that prepared that season. That was last season, so
Mm-hmm.
Slip decided to play with Days in them. But anyways, Slip wasn't an opera even on that team. But when he came onto this team, he decided he wanted to pick up the op, and we said, sure, it's no big deal. I mean, I know he's not an opera for a fact. He wasn't an opera in 1.6. So at the start, it was kind of like a troll. It wasn't a big deal. Like, he's like, whatever, I'm gonna op. I'm gonna try it. No one really thought it was gonna work out. We just said, whatever, do it. Do what you want to do. because we didn't really have an opper, and he wanted to do it. And there's very few people that I've met that I've been on teams with that actually want to do that role, the opping role. They're not confident in it. So I was like, sure, you could do it. And I thought he would auto snipe more than op, but he opped a lot, and he got good with it. And then, yeah, I mean, that's about all there is to say. I mean, he played pretty well this season with it.
That I just
And
remember him doing really well with it. I think it was in the NA Revival tournament. He was just nutty with it.
yeah. Right, that
Anyways,
was like his first like kind of breakout, with
moment.
the op, where he actually decided, I'm gonna start opping a lot more now, because like he needs confidence for himself, right? So if you go into a match and you suck with the op, the very first match you try to, you're probably never gonna use it again. So I mean, he did really really well with it, so he just kind of stuck with it. I think the reason he's probably that pretty good now with the op is mainly because he's so aggressive with it. But yeah, that's about it.
Right, so the next up on the list is going to be Sobo, which I guess he probably has the most experience in CSGO when it comes to LANs and stuff. He's also attended 4 ESEA LANs for 1.6. If I'm not mistaken, he was on that back-to-back lineup for a while with Swag and stuff like that, and they were pretty successful. And then actually he was at the Season 13 ESEA LAN, which has probably so far been the best. It was the Global Go LAN, and he was on one of Denial's renditions. It was like actually the original Denial, because in
Wait,
Denial,
are we talking about Sobo?
yes,
Okay.
okay, he was on the original Denial when Denial first came to CS:GO ever, and then they kind of dropped that team to pick up Daze's lineup and then U5's lineup. They kind of like went around the CS:GO community, to be honest. Anyway, so he was at that LAN, and I think he was playing with Kiko, and was he playing with Flowsick and Arya and Jay Mitchell? I don't know if Jay Mitchell was there or not. I think Jay Mitchell was.
One of them wasn't, and then I think Sobo got replaced for one of those players.
Right.
On that roster.
So they didn't necessarily do that hot, but I don't think anybody really expected them to. I think most people were kind of favoring Dynamic, Curse, and those kinds of teams at the time. But yeah, so tell me about Sobo. What does he do for you guys, and how did he become one of your team members?
When he first joined our team, I think he was a lurker for us, and obviously we knew he was experienced. We thought he was a really good player, and he has a really good attitude. I think his only real issue with him was like calming. From like I remember him from 1.6. A lot of people told me he had bad comms or whatever. He didn't talk much, but other than that, everyone knew for a fact he was a good player. He'd won ESEA LAN with Semphis and that roster with Swag and Sean and all of them. So we knew he had it in him to play really well. And he also went to a CS:GO LAN and didn't. I think they. I don't know if they did well or not. I think they didn't do that well.
They didn't. They played in faculty first, if I remember correctly, and they lost there. And then I think they got eliminated. Well, they got eliminated. They got eliminated pretty quick. I think they were out in 2 sets.
Right. And then they came back home, and then I think during the off season something happened where he didn't want to play that much because it was the off season. I think. I honestly don't remember all of this, so I could be wrong. But I think something to do with the fact that it was an off season, so he didn't want to play that much. But his team still wanted to practice after they got back from LAN, and he didn't want to do it, so he just got replaced for somebody else. And then I think he was one of the people that we picked up when we lost NAF and Slip that season. I think so, yeah. And then we started using Sobo as our 5th because we were desperate at the time. And I'm not saying you should pick up Sobo only if you're desperate, but he was probably one of the only really, really good players out there that didn't have a team. And everybody else was solidified as far as rosters were concerned, so we just used Sobo as our main player.
Right. So then Lucky is next on the list of players that I have, and from what I gathered, it seemed like, I mean, not to say that he doesn't have a lot of experience, he does, but I guess out of everyone on your team, he probably has the least amount of experience, it seems like. But I don't think he ever attended a LAN for 1.6 or ESCA, but I know he did play on some invite teams for some amount of time. And then main.
I don't think he even played on an invite team until the game was completely dead.
Okay.
And by that point, I mean, no one really cared about the game, and I think he played in maybe 2 or 3 matches for us as a ringer. That was about it. I mean, he was, for a lack of a better word, a nobody in CS 1.6 at the start. But we knew him. He was always in Bumble with us and stuff like that. So we had him from the start of the season in CSGO, or start of CSGO, the very first season we played it.
Season 12 was the very first season you guys played it.
Yeah.
And he was one of the original 5.
Right. And it was me, him, and Cutler. We stayed together. And he just, I don't know, like he had okay season, okay season, okay season, but he always got better with his role. Like he's like the main like lurker type role, like a Hiko or get right type role, where he just kind of lurks around and goes for those gate kills, tries to kind of plays by himself. You know, he doesn't really worry about what the team is doing. He kind of just plays. We just let him play, and yeah, he just adapted to that role better and better as the seasons progressed. And I mean, I think it helped him a lot that he played 4 straight seasons with the same core.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that has a lot to do with why he got really, really good.
Right. So yeah, like you said, you yourself, FNS, Lucky, and Cutler have been playing together,
Yeah,
for since the beginning, basically, of Mousespaz CS:GO.
yeah.
So then Cutler will be next then, besides yourself. So Cutler has played one ESEA LAN for 1.6, from what I can gather, and he has some other invite and main experience for 1.6, and he's also been one of the original 5 for Mousespaz CS:GO since he's 12 ESEA. So what can you tell us about Cutler? What kind of player is he for you guys?
He, like I said, he was an opera going in from 1.6 to go. He was always an opera in 1.6 for the most part on my teams. Color's always been on my team for the most part, but like even in 1.6, except for one season. But when we transitioned to go, he wanted to become more of a rifler and less of an opera. He didn't like the op, so he put it down. And then I think he's more of a rifler as well, but uh, I feel like I don't know. I can't really say he's a star player because I feel like everyone plays pretty decently on our team. Like I don't think there's one superior player compared to everybody else as far as fragging is concerned. You know, so I'd have to say that he's just a rifler, just like Sobo and Lucky. And then slips the opera, and I'm the strat caller. That's about it.
So who would you say are like your more aggressive players then? Like you kind of mentioned that Sobo was known to be passive. You've mentioned Lucky kind
Uh,
of being passive. So who?
Slip would definitely have to be up there as far as aggressive is concerned. Cutler's turning into more of an aggressive player. He's usually passive, but he's
Mhm.
going in first a lot now,
Mhm.
especially more so than he has any of the past seasons he's ever played CS, I think. He's always been a passive player, so yeah, I think he's being a little bit more aggressive now. Slip is just naturally an aggressive player, and I'm very aggressive myself, so
So you're kind of the entry guys then, like you and Slip,
yeah,
basically,
yeah.
the initiator.
Because like
Okay.
like sometimes I'll call a strat, and then if it's like a fly strat where it's not, I don't like I haven't really gone over it with my team or anything like that. It's just something I thought of right there and then to adapt to the way the other team is playing. Then I'll probably end up entering on that strat, just because I have the entire idea in my head, but I don't have enough time and freeze time to explain everything. So I just tell people exactly where to go, for the most part, what to do, and then I'll lead that strat. So like in that sense, I would be very, very aggressive, like going in first. And
Right. So have you always been the strat caller ever since the beginning, or have you guys ever changed roles or anything like that? Curiosity.
oh no, I've been strat caller until Steno joined our team.
Okay.
Uh, and then Steno started calling because he called in 1.6, and he was really good calling 1.6 from what I know, or from what I've heard. I had never played with him,
Right.
but when he came to go, he was really motivated to call, and like we'd sit in service for hours. Like he was really dedicated as far as practice was concerned and stuff like that. It was just the only reason it didn't work with Steno was because I think that his playstyle differs a lot from mine as far as calling is concerned. Like he's really, really aggressive, and most of his strats are based around him. And I didn't think that, I don't agree with that in a sense. Like to some degree I do, but a lot of his strats were based on him getting the entry kill. And if he didn't, then he would just die. Like it was a mess, and it like personalities were clashing and stuff like that. So that led to Steno not playing with us anymore. And then I went back to calling after that. And then after a while, we just kind of kept it that way. And no one else has really been interested in calling on my team. I think it's always been me. Other than that, Steno, I guess that's about it.
Right. Also, just a quick thing. For those of you who are posting questions in chat, I'm gonna do questions at the very end, basically. So I don't know. Okay, it says Fatal says he's keeping track of questions on the notepad. That's cool. All right, I appreciate that, Fatal. Sorry, I just wanted to get out of the way. Anyway, so we talked about some of your players, some of their history. So let's talk about your CS:GO history, right? And we're gonna start with, I guess, the foundation. So the tester season, the experiment season. That was season 12, right? So this is when a lot of 1.6 invite teams and some source invite teams too kind of got direct invites to invite.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, whoa, what's going to happen here? This is going to be interesting. And well, to be fair, you guys had a rough season. You went 5-11 in record. I don't have like all the information on all the matches that you played, but I just know that was kind of a rough start. Why was this the case? Why did it take? I mean, it's taken you guys a few seasons to finally make it to land. So this is
Yeah.
where it starts. So maybe you can just walk us through this first season and kind of like what your take is and how things are going at the time.
On the first season, I think we just played, but I think I was playing 1.6 at the time as well, and I was more focused on 1.6 than I was Go. Although I did play a lot of Go to adapt to it. I had an awful computer. This might sound like a bunch of excuses, but it was the truth. I didn't really care for it. Did play the game. I tried, so I don't have to play catch up later. So I did play the game quite a bit, but we never actually took it as seriously as we do now. So, or like the seasons afterwards. But so yeah, we just played it with the people that we knew that wanted to play. Didn't really care about what the roster was. We just played. Didn't do that well, I'm pretty sure. I have no clue what our record was, but we definitely didn't make LAN at all by any means,
No.
not even close. And then, do you want me to keep going, like season by season?
No, I was gonna introduce you season. So that season, you guys went 5-11. It was
Yeah.
a rough. You guys weren't even like a blip on the CS:GO radar at that point, basically.
Yeah.
So then season 13 rolls around, and you guys drastic improvement. You go from a 5-11 record in season 12 to a 9-7 record. So you get 4 more wins basically than the previous season. So this is a really good improvement. And in all honesty, in this season, you guys were like the team right below like the last North American team that qualified. So like literally, if you almost made it, basically is my point. Denial was like maybe 1 or 2 wins ahead of you.
The last match was like a 14 loss for us, and that kind of ruined everything for us. We knew for a fact, actually, we didn't even think, we knew for a fact we were going to win that match. But then we didn't get to practice for it. I don't know what, I think it was on Dust 2 versus Freakazoid's team. And we didn't get to, we didn't even touch the game anymore because Steno's dog had passed away. I think that was that season. Yeah. And Steno's dog had passed away, so he wasn't on at all. And then that was shitty for us because we weren't able to play. And when we did play, we got 14 rounds and we just got raped pretty much. We shouldn't have lost that many rounds, and yeah, we just came up short at that line.
Wow, I never would have thought that a death of a dog would cause the team not to be able to
That's
practice.
not the main reason.
Okay.
That's like we couldn't get our 5 on at that time, so like.
Okay.
But we still thought we were gonna win. We just didn't.
Yeah, I understand.
The other team just played well.
Dustin doesn't hate dogs. Disclaimer. I'm just saying. Maybe take a couple of days to get over it, but not like a whole week of practice. Anyway, so basically you come from season 13, definitely improving. You're starting to build some momentum. You're starting to get better match results, and you're starting to like appear on North America's CS:GO radar as a contender team. So then season 14 rolls around, and once again, you have a similar record. You went 8-8 this time.
Yep.
So you're playing about the same as you did the previous season, basically. And just like the previous season, you fell just short of attending. Because what happened was we were supposed to have 4 North American, 4 European again, and what happened was obviously NIP was the only team to show up to this event from Europe. So then we had to invite a 5th North American team, and I think there was like a tie between you, the Cultivation team, which is now United 5, and like one other team, and it came down to like a tiebreaker situation that you just happened to not be better statistically or whatever. I can't really even remember what it was. Maybe you can remember. But so this is once again another season where you just fall short of LAN. So what's happening at this point for you folks?
This season or last season?
This is last season, season 14.
Is that what you want me to talk about, or you want me to talk about why we got better?
Well, I mean, yeah, that too. Just walk me
Okay, well,
through
I'll
that
start off
season,
with
basically.
last season.
Okay, yeah.
Last season, I think that like the matches were very, very close for us, but again, we couldn't beat any of the really, really good teams, and we just fell short versus the bad, like not bad teams, but like teams we should have beaten, like compared to us. Those teams didn't play much or anything like that. But like that's what happened to us seasons prior. Like we can't pull out, like we can't close games out, and that was our biggest problem always. We just wouldn't be able to close games out. We were always close to winning the games, and then we just lose, and we kind of got upset with each other, and we're just like, what's the problem? And we never actually figured out what the issue was at the time. And this was me calling at the time, and I played a really, 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 really bad season last season. And Um, yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, I think that was the biggest issue. I mean, if I had played a little bit better, I think we would have made it. But other than that, I mean, we just always came up short. We didn't know. We couldn't really figure out why. And then this season,
We'll get
it
to that.
just
Hold
felt
on.
okay.
Yeah. Because next after that season was in a revival tournament. And to me, I casted this whole event. It was like an all-day event. It was a marathon. And I remember watching this event, and none of like the top teams were in it. So like Complexity and I by Power, those lineups weren't in this tournament. So
Yeah.
this made the tournament, in my opinion, like interesting as a North American spectator and commentator, because this was like, okay, so the best of the best aren't really here. So, but we still have all these other, I guess, middle of the pack invite teams here. So how's this gonna go? And you guys did really well. So you played some team I've never even heard of first. It was like Pug Kings. It was some Civo team. I've never heard of them.
I've honestly the only match I remember is the final. That
Okay,
was it.
well, I'll get there really quickly then. So the first team that you play that's like, I guess, notable is Exertus. You guys beat them 2-1. You beat them on Mirage and Nuke. You lost them on Train. Then you go on to play United 5, and this was like, personally, the match that everyone was looking forward to, because it was its up and coming Mousespaz team versus
Okay, yeah.
the
I
old
remember
school
it.
guys. Once
Yeah.
again, you win this 2-1. You beat them on Cash and Inferno, and you lost in Mirage in the middle.
Yeah.
And then you come to the grand final, and it's you versus Reliable, which has a different roster than Reliable is today. They have like Mossbeck and some other guys.
TM, I think Mossbeck.
Yeah.
It was the roster they started off with this season.
Yeah, before they grabbed Mo and lost TM and Mossbeck and all that stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
so this once again was a marathon. It went all 3 maps. You guys once again won Cash, just like you did against United 5. But then you lost on Dust 2 and Nuke. So you said you remember the grand final, so maybe you can talk about this tournament and the result you had.
Well, we obviously hadn't practiced because we had a whole new roster at that time. Slip had never played with us, I don't think, till then. So that was his first game, like you had previously mentioned. That was his first game as an opera for us. His first match anyway. And we pretty much felt really, really confident that we were going to beat those guys. We were down a lot on Cash, I think. From what I remember, I think we were down to like 10-1. We were just getting completely destroyed on every, like, be it B, at A, everything. Like, even, we didn't even get to run a strat for the first 11 rounds. And that's because we had never touched Cash before, T-side anyway. And so I think we got lucky with the rounds we did get on T-side. And by lucky, I just mean that I think they made more mistakes than they should have. And they started playing a little bit more aggressive, and we just took a little bit more advantage of that and got the kills and then took the sites.
Right.
I think it was like a 11-4, 12-3 half for us. 11-4, I think, on Cash. And then we switched to CT, and then Slip just took over from there, and just we won pistol round. And after that, and didn't get ecoed once, so 11-7. And then they just kept losing every gun round because Slip was like opping 1 or 2 people every single round. We'd close out rounds without like losing 1 player, 2 players max, so we had full money control. And it's really hard to beat a team on Cash, especially when you have molly, smokes, every nade possible. There's no way to really take bomb sites, especially if you haven't practiced that much either. So, and I don't think they practiced. So, yeah, I mean, I think we took Cash simply because I think we started off really well on CT side, and then we didn't make the mistakes they did later on, and we closed out that game.
Right on.
And then I don't know what the other map was. Did you say
D2 and Nuke were the 2 that you lost.
Yeah, so D2 I think was second map or third map. Can't really remember. I think Nuke was second, maybe.
I don't remember.
Either way, I think they were both close games. I can't remember exactly what happened, but they were very, very close games, and we should have won both of those maps, by the way. I think we should have won 2-0. But again, like I said
Dust
earlier,
2 actually went to overtime. It was 19-17.
yeah, but even before that, it was 15-12 us on
Right.
Dust 2, and then I think it was 14-11 us on Nuke.
And it went out being
So-
16-14.
Yeah, so I mean, we should have won both those maps. We should have closed it out. We had money control on them. We simply could not close out games at that time. I don't know why. It was the same problem we had the season before, and it just bit us. Yes.
I hear you. So now let's go to the current season, the season that is leading up to the LAN. This season you went 10-6, and this will be your first LAN for CS:GO as a team.
Yeah.
In fact, I think this is the first LAN CS:GO for a lot of you, except for maybe Sobo, right?
All of us except Sobo. Yeah.
Okay. Um, so with that being said, well, I'm gonna walk through a couple of your I think the key matches this season for you folks. Some were wins, some were losses. We can just talk about them. So the first big test you had was when you had to play iBuyPower very early on in the season on Inferno. You guys wound up losing that 16-4. So what's the mindset at this point at the beginning of the season? Already taking a huge loss to like one of the top teams.
Uh, I mean, if you watch that match, if you saw the rounds that they won, you would understand exactly what our mindset was. We were devastated at the fact that we were losing rounds that should have easily been won. And a lot of the blame I'll take is I lost 2 rounds single-handedly by myself that I could have easily won. They won like 2v1s and like 2v3s and like the map like the score doesn't actually indicate how close that game was. I mean, I'm not going to make excuses. They did play really, really well. And then once it was like 10-1, 11-1, they just kind of rolled over us because, I mean, they have nothing to lose. They just started fighting us everywhere and just raping us just with full confidence. But those first 2 gun rounds, we lost pistol, I think. No, we won pistol, and then we lost the following round. We got eco'd. When that happens versus a really, really good team, you lose a lot of confidence going into the next rounds. But regardless, we had a lot of those gun rounds won and we just threw them away. So the T side half for us, if things had gone even remotely our way, should have been like 7 rounds for us, 8 rounds. But we made a lot of mistakes. But as far as mindset was concerned, afterwards we knew the mistakes that we made, and we knew what we had to fix. So we kind of just moved on from that point. Didn't really phase us too much. We just figured we'd beat them the next time we played them on Inferno.
Yep. Okay, so the next big matches you had to play were on Cash, which was just a few weeks later. At this point, you had already beaten a couple other teams that aren't going to be at the LANs. Like you beat Reliable on D2, you did pretty well there. You destroyed one of the like lower tier teams at the time, Destruction Box 9000 on Nuke. So basically, it's like you were beating the teams that you should beat.
Yeah. And that's what we hadn't done previous seasons. We always struggled versus pretty much every team.
Right. But then you suffered like kind of a tough loss on Nuke in overtime against Exertus, which is a team that kind of fell apart towards the end of the season. So
that's bad.
Yeah. But then, so your next really big test, in my opinion, was when you guys had Cash Week, because you had 2 of the other playoff teams this week. So you had to play Homeless and then Complexity. Even though I think maybe you played Complexity, maybe rescheduled or something. But either way, this was a tough map. But to be honest, this was a map you had been successful on. Like you were mentioning earlier that you didn't necessarily like practice it a lot or have a lot down, but whenever you played in the NA Revival tournament, you had beat U5 on it and you beat Reliable on it. So it seemed like actually a map you were somewhat stronger on. Maybe, I don't know. But either way, you beat Homeless handedly on this match, 16-6. That was a really good win for you guys. But then you lost to Complexity 16-10, so a pretty close game. So can you walk us through this, maybe?
The matches. Homeless, I just felt like everybody on our team was playing really well. And that's it. That we simply outskilled them as far as I don't even think they had crazy set strats. I think they just relied a lot on their aim. And when they got out aimed, they didn't really have an alternative, any other plans. They didn't have a plan B. They just kind of kept playing that same way. So we kind of knew what they were doing almost every round. Plus, most games that you watch are gonna usually come down to those 2v1s and 1v2s, or like 1v1s and 2v1s and whatever. And I think we won most of those, or all of them, I think. So when that happens, you usually end up winning the game.
Right.
And I think that's what happened versus Homeless. And then we played Cole. Not so much the same thing. I think they had a lot more confidence on their T side. They came out mid, and they simply, from what I remember anyway, they had everything smoked off really, really well. We couldn't really see, so we kind of had to play a retake, but we'd lose a player, so we wouldn't be able to play a full retake. Someone would try to make a play, die. It was kind of a mess, our whole CT side, and we couldn't take advantage of that CT side as well as we usually would. And when that happens, we switch T, we won pistol, and then we just lost out after that. We maybe won one gun round, and that's it. Like, we could have won that game, but again, it came down to those close rounds that we just couldn't win. I think if we'd played a little bit more default and just worked off picks, maybe we would have won, but Other than that, I can't tell you much about that. That's about it.
Right
They were
on.
just simply better.
Okay. So the next three matches we'll talk about were all successes for you guys. So there was two different maps, two different times you played United 5 this season, which is the team that will be at the LAN as like the 5th North American seed. They got the invite after some European teams couldn't make it. This is actually the second LAN that's happened for them, basically.
Yeah.
Here, you already had a lot of success against U5 because you beat them in the NA Revival tournament in the preseason. You beat them on Cash and Inferno. This time you're playing them on Season, which is, like a source map, so a lot of 1.6 teams don't really favor it. And then the Train Volcano Edition, which a lot of 1.6 teams seem to like. You beat them both times. You beat them on Season 16-13, so a pretty close game. And then you kind of just slammed them on Train. You beat them 16-6. So essentially, it seems like you guys have U5's number for the most part. You've beaten them pretty much every time you play them, except one map in a set you played in the previous tournament. Other than that, you guys seem to be pretty dominant against this lineup. Was this before or after they swapped Fraud for TM when you played them in the regular season, though? I can't remember.
We played them once when they had Fraud on Season, and then we played them once when they had TM on Train. But,
Okay.
I mean, you just said we have their number. I really don't think that we necessarily have their number, but yeah, we did beat them. But like you said, the first one was very, very close. It could have gone either way. The Season one. And as far as Train was concerned, I think they just lost because we were just CT and we won pistol. And once you lose that T pistol on Train, there's very little that you could do unless you have set strats, and I really don't think that they did. I think that's why they ended up losing. But yeah, anyways, continue.
So any comment then on... Well, I guess we'll get to that later. So next you play Homeless on Mirage, and you beat them pretty handedly, 16-5. This was a map you had a little bit of trouble with in the NA Revival tournament. It's a map that U5 actually beat you folks on.
Yep.
So how did this go for you guys, the Homeless match on Mirage, towards the end of the season?
At that point we were riding a high. We knew that we could pretty much beat any team at that point. In our heads we were like, whatever. I mean, we just went about the same practice schedule we usually do. We dry ran nice defaults on Mirage. Like I said, in that Revival tournament, I mean, it was not that big of a deal for us. Sure, it helped us as far as team chemistry was concerned and experience was concerned, but other than that, no one really practiced for it. So it was just a bunch of hug strats that I was calling. And the only difference was, this time around, we actually had strats. We actually had a default, and off the default, we reacted really well to certain things. For example, killing the cat guy, we usually smoke it off, or we just catch them making a lot of mistakes because our default was pretty solid. And that was it. I mean, they kept falling into our traps and they kept dying and losing people early, and then we just took advantage of that.
Right on. So then your last two matches of the season that were really notable was, once again, you had to go up against Complexity and I by Power.
Yeah.
And you played Complexity on Mirage. It was a close game at 16-12. And you played I by Power on Train. You just kind of got wiped 16-3. So maybe you can talk about these couple of matches. Once again, you guys having to face arguably the top two teams in North America.
We just can't. I don't know. We just can't beat them. I mean, I can't put it any other way. I mean, we always get. I feel like it's easier to play Cole for us, specifically for us, as opposed to playing I by Power. Simply because I think I by Power just has a ridiculous amount of confidence when they're playing. I'm not going to say they're online or anything like that, because you can say the same thing about us, but I think they just have our number in a sense that when they win, when they win their first gun round or a gun round, they just kind of roll over us from that point on. They just run out. It doesn't even feel like they're running strats. It feels like they're just flying out of places, one-shotting or two-shotting three of us and just winning the round. Like, there's just a lot of individual skill involved. I've never felt like I've gotten outstratted by I by Power. I felt like I've just gotten outshot every single time. Whereas when we play Cole, they seem to kind of play very default in standard CS. CS that's kind of predictable, a little bit more so than a team that's just flying out at me and headshotting me.
Right.
So there is something I could do about that. So I think that's why our games versus Cole are a little bit closer. The Mirage game, I think that we had the momentum going in. I think we won T-Pistol. Yeah, I think we won T-Pistol. And then we just kept our momentum going, but we couldn't string rounds together. That was the problem, so we had to go on a lot of ecos as well. But I think it was tied at one point and we were CT, and it was tied at one point, and then we just kind of threw from there. I think they had a couple good AXQs. One where they just ran down mid and ran up connector and caught me off guard, which I didn't really expect any team to do on a big round. But when they won that round, we had a save, and I think it was like 13-11 or 13 something them, and then they just took it from there. So that was it, from what I remember anyway. I don't remember much about that.
Right. So
And
that's
we just
pretty.
get raped by power. 16-3, there's not much I can say.
Yeah, right. So actually, when you look at your season in reflection, you had a 10-6 record, and 4 of those losses come from the 2 best teams in North America, really. So you only lost twice to other teams that are outside of that like elite status, I guess you could say. So it seems like you guys are going to this event, in my opinion, like clearly third. Like I guess there's some teams you could argue that could compete with you for that third spot. But it seems like you're, at least on paper, from your match results, you're entering this event coming off a pretty good NA Revival off-season tournament, coming off of a good season that you're number 3 basically in North America at this point. So this is kind of where the show is transitioning from just learning about Mousespaz to ESEA LAN, which is potentially where you guys make a name for yourselves essentially. This will be the first time you guys play CSGO on LAN besides Sobo, so there's that whole factor. There's also, a European team that's going to be there that's really huge, and then you have your North American rivals that have been able to beat you online so far, but maybe LAN is your chance to turn the tides. So that's kind of where we're headed right now. So first, I just want to talk about like the teams just really in general, and what your thoughts are on them. I've already done like in-depth episodes about Complexity and iBuyPower, so I don't really want to focus like on their history and all that stuff because I've already done that. But I just wanted to maybe take each team and kind of maybe talk about what you think about them, what I think about them, and where we think they might place, basically. So first up will be Titan Esports. So this is the former Very Games. This is arguably maybe the best team in the world. I say maybe because we don't really know who's the best team in the world anymore. Like DreamHack Winter almost completely destroyed like all these patterns that we had been following. So NIP used to be the best team in the world, but then they get beat by Very Games at a couple of EMS events and then Star Series, and now Very Games is finally taking number 1s at these different events. So now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, maybe Very Games is the best team in the world. They have arguably the best player in the world in Shocks. So they're coming to this event with a new sponsor, but they're still the same group of guys that's been doing really, really well basically in the international CSGO scene, maybe number 1, number 2 in the world. What are your thoughts on this team? What are your opinions on them going into this event? Maybe you might play them, who knows? So what do you think?
Games?
Yes.
You're asking me? Okay.
Titan Esports.
They're good. I mean, obviously, they're really, really good. And honestly, even if we, for example, beat Homeless and we get matched up versus them, I'm not going to go ahead and say that we are going to beat them. That'd be a stupid thing to say. I think that if we get comfortable at the LAN, I think we could maybe get a map on them. I'm not going to go ahead and say we could beat them, but I think that they have flaws in the way they play, in a sense that it's not consistent playstyle, just based on the demos I've watched of them and the matches I've watched them play. I think that's why NIP has always been a little bit more successful than them, is the fact that NIP plays very similar, well, not similar, but they play standard CS for the most part, almost like what Cole, like if you were to watch Cole, it's like the same rivalry. It's like Cole iBuyPower is the exact same to me as Very Games NIP. Both iBuyPower is a little bit more aggressive and tend to do things that are a little bit unorthodox, and you wouldn't even think it's a strat, but it is. And then Very Games is the same way in my opinion, and NIP and Cole are more standard teams and tend to do things that, like, they'll do one gun round strat that they've done so many times before in the past, but Very Games sometimes won't do that. Very Games will try to stray away from that and kind of do something new. And I think that's what I mean, I think that if we could somehow even get a map on them, honestly, I can't predict how we'll do versus them. I mean, I think they're really, really good, and obviously they're a lot more experienced than us, probably have a little bit more skill than we do, more LAN experience. Our boot camping currently, things aren't really looking too good if we play against them, but I would still honestly love to play against them just to gain that experience and be able to see how good they really are, just firsthand as
Right.
opposed to just watching matches.
So here's my take on Titan Esports really quick, and then we'll move down the list. You're talking about how NIP is like this more standard CS team, and Titan is this more like loose team, kind of like iBuyPower. So you kind of made this comparison. To me, I've always seen NIP as like the old school like style team, and then Very Games are now Titan Esports like the innovative, like the new innovations. And think about it, the P250 armor strat was something that like they kind of brought to light, and now it's so heavily used. And then some of their strategies, like the way that they work apartments A on Inferno, and the way that they work their splits on Mirage, like different things like that are just like they're innovative in the way that they use things, in my opinion. And not only that, but have you ever heard of the infamous existence spreadsheet?
Oh, I saw your interview with Sean. I
Yeah.
did.
So apparently
Yeah.
they really, really do a lot of homework and try to learn tendencies and patterns of different teams and players. So they seem very innovative and also very reactive. They like to.
See,
Go ahead.
I honestly think that if, sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
I honestly think that if, say for example, we did play very games, I think that if we were to anti-strat them, they wouldn't really care and they'd be confident anyway going into it. I think that if we were to anti-strat them, for example, on like 3 different maps that we know what they're gonna take out, and if we get lucky and they play 2 of those 3 maps or something, and we have anti-stratted them, then it's possible to beat them, in my opinion. Just honestly because they won't care. They will keep doing that strat no matter what. I don't think they would change it up. I think that's gonna be their main default. They won't switch stray away from it. Versus NIP, yes, because NIP they respect NIP as a team. They don't know who we are or what any NA
And that
team
kind of
is.
gives you like a slight edge almost.
Yeah.
Because they
It
can't
does.
really react to you. So I guarantee they're gonna eliminate Season, like probably right off the bat. And
Honestly, you would be surprised at how good they are on season.
they are really good, but I think that that's like a map that maybe they might be worried that you like prep specially for them or something, since you're a new team that
I
they
don't
haven't
think
played
they
against.
would care.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
even a little bit.
So what do you think the map vetoes would be if you guys played each other? If you had the
Like I
chance?
said, I honestly don't even know. I don't even think they would care what they play.
Yeah,
against.
okay.
They just simply just whatever map that comes to his head first, and he'll just pick. He'll be like, here,
Yeah.
just get rid of this, this, and this, and then.
Got you. So basically, and also the other thing I want to talk about, just because it's really interesting for this event, is that of any like North American team, European team rivalry or relationship, it seems like the richest one is between Titan and Complexity. They have a huge past versus one another. So Complexity got the better of them at DreamHack Winter. It was 16-14 on Inferno in group play. But also, Hiko and Symphis, part of the Quantic lineup, beat them at ESEA LAN Season 13 in the lower bracket finals 2-0 by beating them. I think it was Inferno, and I can't remember what the other map was. It may have been Cash or something like that. Yeah, I think it was Cash. So it almost seems, and then the other part of this story is that Dave's the strat caller for Quantic at this event is now the strat caller for iBuyPower. So my thing is if it seems like if any team might rattle or upset Titan, it could be these two teams because they have had success against them in the past. Do you have any thoughts on this particular rivalry or relationship between Titan and these two North American teams that have had success against them, sort of?
iBuyPower has not had success in general.
Just Dazed in general, though.
Yeah, just days.
That's
But,
it. It's mostly Complexity.
Yeah. And as far as Cole's concerned, yeah, like you said, I think they've beaten them more times than they've lost them. I think have they even lost to them? I don't even think they've lost to
Well,
them
they've only
once.
played with the 5 that they have now. They've only played against them once. Well,
Yeah.
no, I take that back. So Very Games beat them in what tournament was that? Copenhagen Games 2013. They
Okay.
lost to Very Games, but it was a best of 1 because it was a lower bracket. The way that the tournament worked was best of 3 in the upper bracket, but once you lost and you went to the lower bracket, it was best of 1s the rest of the way out. And so they wound up losing the Very Games in a best of 1. So technically, the 5 and that was still with Quantic though, so that wasn't even the Cole lineup. So the 5 that they have right now has only played Very Games once, and that was at DreamHack Winter where Complexity won 16-14. So basically, it's unpredictable, really. It's only been one time that they've played with the 5 that each team currently has. So it's really it's a shoot. Basically, what I'm saying is, Complexity has a chance to beat Titan. They've proved that they can, that they're capable. I think here's the point I'm trying to make is I think that most people come to this LAN and they think that Titan should clearly have it, that they should clearly win this event. Kind of like NIP, people predicted last season that NIP should clearly have it, and they did wind up winning even though Cole took a map off them, which was kind of a shocker at the time because NIP hadn't really lost any maps at that point when you look at that LAN. Virtus Pro and like one other team was the only team that ever beat them on a map on LAN when Cole did what they did. And then Cole makes a name for themselves at DreamHack Winter, beating Astana Dragons, taking a map off Very Games. My point is so Titan comes in as the clear favorite in most people's eyes. Do you feel that way though, or do you kind of like me that thinks that teams like Complexity have a chance to win this event all the way, or North American teams in general have a chance to win it?
Like I said, they could just anti-strat them, and I don't think that Very Games will change things up. I mean, obviously they could, and they might anti-strat Complexity, or like they might watch the way Complexity plays. They'll watch how they lost previously to them in that tournament, that DreamHack tournament, and they'll look at how to fix that. And if that's the case, then I really don't think that Complexity will have a great chance at that, just because now I know for a fact Very Games sees them as a really, really big threat to that title. Top of that, this means a lot more to Very Games than it normally would, considering that this is their new sponsorship, the Titan sponsorship. And sorry, I keep calling them Very Games.
It's okay.
But I think it means a lot more to them now that it's going to be their first tournament as in that Titan tag, so they're going to have to win that in their heads. So I think just because of how much it means, I still feel like they have an edge. They are boot camping right now. I mean, for God's sakes, they have a gaming house.
I don't know if they moved into that yet, actually.
No? I'm pretty sure they're boot
I know they've been
right
boot camping
now.
regardless, but I don't think they've moved into their official gaming house yet. But yeah, you're right.
Either way, I feel like they want to, show their sponsors what they're made of, and they want to show the world what they're made of, and I think this would be a great start for them in 2014 to be able to just destroy every team in North America, and they very well could, is the issue. Like, they could just...
So if you had to throw like a percentage chance on Titan winning this whole event or not winning this whole event, like what would you put the numbers? How would you number it? I'm putting you on the spot.
I'd probably say about 70% chance.
They take it all?
And I'm being generous that they take it all, yeah. I mean, I don't see them throwing this one away. I'm not going to see them making any mistakes, really. But, like I said, that's only because I feel like Cole is the only real threat that they're faced with, and they know that. And if they could take out Cole, I think they could take out everybody in this event. And I think there are certain teams, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain teams that are just matched up better against other teams. Like, if NIP were to play Copenhagen Wolves or something like that, they might lose, but if they played someone else, they might win. Like that's how Fnatic ended up playing Cole. If they had played Copenhagen Wolves in the DreamHack semifinal instead, maybe they wouldn't have even made the final. But they got an easy road. By easy, I mean like Complexity, which is what they wanted. They didn't really want to play Astana Dragons. They might have lost to Astana Dragons. But there's certain teams that just have an edge over other teams, and I think that's Cole to Very Games. I think Cole has a little bit of an edge, so I think that Very Games will take them very, very seriously this time around. Especially because they know that Cole, in their heads, Cole is the favorite to win this tournament. Very Games, I can promise you that. So I know they're not going to mess up by making these stupid mistakes all over again, over rotating and letting the bomb get planted at A and not have any idea what's happening and stuff like that.
Wow. FNS providing some expert analysis right there. I really love that. Like, that was a really good breakdown. So yeah, definitely, that was good. So then let's look at Complexity. I don't want to harp on their history too long, but we have to say, based on their results so far between the previous ESEA events and how they've done at DreamHack Winter, clearly #1 seed North America, which they earned as well during the regular season. So I guess arguably, based on what we've seen at LAN, Complexity is North America's best chance to win this event. What are your thoughts with Cole going into this event?
I think Cole simply wants to maintain that, and they want to be the best. They want to stay the best. And I think that they kind of are the clear cut. They've beaten iBuyPower online now. I think they won yesterday on Solo
they did.
as well. I mean, they keep winning versus them now. I mean, I think the only edge iBuyPower actually had was the fact that they were winning online versus them. So it was like, wow, they're pretty evenly matched. Now Cole's just taking every game. So I think that Cole's the clear-cut favorite to win. I
I
think
think
iBuyPower needs to get a map on Berry Games or something like that. I think iBuyPower themselves don't believe that they can beat these teams just yet. Not anymore, just because they lost to, Universal Soldiers and stuff like that on DreamHack. They lost so early. I think they need a confidence boost just for themselves, not to really prove to anybody else, but just to themselves that they could actually beat these teams now.
well,
Because now Days joined, and now it's just
it's
losing.
really weird. The Cole by Power thing's really weird because I think if you look at overall, they've only played each other online with the current fives that they have, and
Yeah.
so if you date back to Days first joins the team for iBuyPower for the Cole 10-year anniversary tournament, and iBuyPower actually beats them 4-1 in maps in that event. But then then Cole beats them in ESEA once because it was a forfeit loss. So you don't really count that. So now it's like 4-2, right, in favor of iBuyPower still. But then you have Sevo, which I know Cole has at least beaten them once in Sevo, so that's now 4-3 online maps. I'm not sure how the other result went. I think Cole won the other time they played in Sevo too. So let's just say now it's like even online results against one another if you date it back that far. But you're right. So like current momentum seems to favor Complexity based on the fact that they've beaten.
What do you think is better, Dust? You let me know, and then.
No, I want to just kind of like see like I mean, what do you think, man? So you still
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I could tell you that iBuyPower is better, and then iBuyPower will just get raped again. But if I just say, I mean, Cole is better, I have a safer bet.
So you're saying the safer bet's Complexity is your point.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that then. We'll leave it at that. And I think you're right. But iBuyPower, okay, so they've had an awful DreamHack winner. Let's just leave it at that, right? But they've
not one they wanted. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that we're better than them by any means. I'm just saying that they went into it knowing that they were going to place fourth. They had that confidence in their head. I don't want to get too much into it, but I mean, it just sucks that they got knocked out so early. I watched that interview with Adren. I was kind of surprised that they didn't expect B rushes on a pistol round. Like, he seemed shocked at that. I don't know how. Like, what do you do in the start of a pistol round if you're not holding B?
I feel it's really weird because Adren's their former in-game leader. Now they have Days, and it seems like I don't know how much their strategy ideas clash with one another or not. I know Days clearly is
even if that's
call.
the case. I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
Based on the way he said it, he almost seemed surprised that they like. I think he said that he was shocked at the fact that they rushed B on the pistol round, and I didn't understand that. Like, why are you shocked that they're rushing B on a pistol round?
I think he seemed like he was more shocked that on gun rounds these teams were rushing really hard.
Yeah, but he also said on pistol round they rushed B and they weren't playing for the B rush. What I'm trying to understand is, were they trying to do a stack, like they did restack?
It seems like they were gambling A.
Yeah, which is an issue. You can't be just doing that. Like, you can't just completely gamble, especially on Dust 2. You don't want to gamble a bomb site, and because there's no way to retake B. There's at least a chance you could retake A, unless you have full nades and an actual retake set up. There's no way you're retaking B. So I don't get what they were surprised by. I'm not bashing him by any means. I was just surprised that they were surprised that that type of strat was hit them. Right. Especially because I'm pretty sure Universal Soldiers is known to be a team that would do something like that over doing something super tactical.
So let's make a conclusion here then on at least these three teams we talked about so far. Then we're going to get to the other North American teams, which includes yourself. So I kind of proposed three scenarios to Adrian. Do you remember this on the last episode? I was like, one scenario is iBuyPower and wins the whole event, or at least takes second place to Titan, and at least they get some positive in their life, basically. Because right now it's just low of lows for them. I mean, let's be real. They are getting outclassed by Complexity in online matches now. They got outplayed. Well, they didn't get directly outplayed by Cole, but Cole got better results at DreamHack Winter, and they had similar boot camping situations. But it seems like Complexity was more successful with that than they were. But they've dedicated a lot of time and effort, and they haven't yielded great results yet. They've just kind of stayed number 2 in North America for the most part. So the scenarios are either iBuyPower is successful and so they get something positive going, or they take third to Cole and Titan, and then they're just kind of where they're at still. They're just like neutral, basically. And
here's what I honestly think.
Okay, go ahead.
It. Sorry.
So the last scenario is they tank completely. They wind up getting upset by some of the other North American teams there too, and they take like a way lesser place than third, like a 4th or a 5th or something. So in my eyes, if it's the neutral or negative situation, it's not going to be good for the roster. Whereas if it's a positive situation, maybe they stick together as the 5 that they have. What do
There's
you
no way
think?
anyone's leaving that roster. I mean, they're sponsored by iBuyPower. There's just no way.
Well, I think what Adren told me is that he, AZK, and Anger should have no trouble sticking together, but he did actually worry that maybe Sam would consider leaving if they tank this LAN.
I'm not. I don't think he's an idiot, and I don't see why you would play CS on another team. What team is he going to join if he leaves? What other team would he join?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like there
It
is
would
no
take
other
a
team,
big move from Cole or something, like
which is not going to happen.
if someone
We all
retired,
know
maybe. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
the
know.
only real
That's
way.
the only
and I
real
think
way,
that-
yeah.
Yeah. So as far as that's concerned, I mean, even if that was the case, Semphis won't play with. Remember, like that whole thing that happened with Semphis and Daze. Like, there's no way Daze is going to join that team now with all that stuff that's already happened.
Do you think
So-
any roster change happens at all for iBuyPower?
Absolutely not. I don't think they're idiots. So no, I think that would be a really bad move for them.
I
That would
do
be
too. I was just
dumb.
curious what you thought.
No, that would be an awful thing, and I think that'd be bad for the scene too. I think
Absolutely.
iBuyPower is a really, really good team, and I think yesterday, I don't know if you watched the game. Did you?
I watched the Nuke game, yeah.
Okay, so even you know that they should. iBuyPower should not have thrown that away. They were winning. They got a lot of rounds, and then they got ecoed, which is
Well,
the
no, actually, Cole was beating them from T side like 8-0 in the first half.
Yeah,
And then
but
they
I'm
had to
talking
come
about
back.
Yeah, I'm talking about second half. I'm
Yeah,
talking about
right, they
second
came
half. It was
back,
like
yeah.
12-11, and then they got ecoed, which should
Mhm.
not have happened at all. They got ecoed because Adren TK'd or something like that. But other than that, they had full momentum on their side, and then they got ramp pushed. Sean got pop flashed into J Hall. He killed one, and then Adren TK'd another. So it was a 3v5, and then they lost that. Once they lost that round, that was just it. They couldn't come back from that. I'm not saying they should have won. That was bad, but I think that the game would have been a lot closer had they not lost that round. And I feel like that's their biggest issue is their anti-ecos. They don't know what to do during those anti-ecos. I think that they are. Well, I'm not going to say they don't know what to do, but I think they're getting really unlucky on those anti-ecos, and they're getting raped by pistols a lot. And I think that's sucks for them. I mean, I know that for a fact. I've gotten ecoed more times than I think anybody, and I hate it. I hate the feeling of getting ecoed, and it just, especially when you're winning and you have momentum, and then you lose it because you get ecoed. I honestly do think that they're a good team, and I think that they will be proving that this ESEA LAN. I think that they'll do.
So you
really
think
well
they'll have
this
better results here than DreamHack?
I think that they'll do.
That's possible. So let's get on to the next three teams, right? So it's you, Homeless, and United 5, right?
Yeah.
So we've already used half this episode to talk about the history of your team and how you've progressed and how you've done so far this season and stuff. Do you know for sure who you play first? I don't know
Homeless.
because you do play Homeless first for sure.
That's what I've heard.
Okay,
That's
I
what
don't.
everybody's-
Nothing officially has been stated, but I assume that the only seeding that we're confused about is who gets overall number one between Cole and Titan.
It wouldn't matter, right?
It
Because
wouldn't matter
both get
for y'all in
buys.
first matchup. You're right.
Yeah, it would. They both get buys, so I guess we would play Homeless, and then United 5 would
So
play.
let's talk about you and Homeless then, right? So we've already talked about you a lot. Let's like mention Homeless a bit then. So they have a weird lineup, in my opinion. I've been confused. They've been using Steel, even though he's been in Europe playing with like over 100 ping every game. And I don't even know how much they get to practice because his schedule is obviously way different than theirs, being a completely different time zone. So their online play is really hard to judge because of that. Like I don't really know how to judge their online play, but it certainly hasn't been the best. They went 8-8. I don't even know. I guess the 5 they're using is Monty, Frost, Freakazoid, Steel, and who's their 5th? It's not Easy PK. It's
Mousespaz?
Mousespaz. I'm
You
sorry. Yeah, so it's Mousespaz, Neil, Freakazoid, Frost, and Steel. That's the lineup. Which actually is like a lot of the lineup that they use to beat Dynamic and Source and stuff, like the fully torqued roster and stuff. So they have a history together. So what are your thoughts on this lineup coming into LAN? How different do you think they'll play now that they're on LAN rather than online and not dealing with some of these other issues?
I think they'll be a lot less tactical. I think they won't worry about strats as much. I think they'll play their game, and I think that that's only. I'm saying that because I think that teams that have experience on LAN tend to have more confidence on LAN. I think that they have experience with CS:GO. I think, right? I mean,
Steel's been on a couple different pro European teams, and then Frost was on Quantic and made a name for himself there and Go. So yeah, I mean they all have experience. Mospec's really the only person on that team that like.
And even he has gone to an ESEA LAN last season. And
It's just he's the only one that hasn't been like necessarily considered performing very well, basically.
yeah.
On LAN.
But even then, he has the experience of playing that LAN. And problem is, the only issue I see with us is the fact that we haven't gone to an ESEA or CS:GO LAN yet, and it could be very, very different for us if we don't get comfortable. And that's what I keep saying to my team every single time: is if we get comfortable, we'll be fine throughout the LAN. I'm not saying versus just homeless, but throughout the LAN we'll be completely fine. Not going to say we're going to win or we're going to lose, but I think that the games will be really, really close as long as we're comfortable at
Yeah,
that LAN.
I don't think you'll have a problem with that, seeing as you've all been there for 1.6 in the past
Yeah,
several times. But
yeah, but I mean, it depends on the rounds you lose and win, right? I mean, it really depends on the atmosphere. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on how you are that day, in my opinion, anyway. And I feel like if everyone's all right, no one's nervous, like nothing, none of that, like none of those outside factors are kicking in. I think that if we play our game, we're going to be difficult to beat in terms of preparation anyway. I mean, we've prepared, I think, more than most NA teams. I think maybe, well, for this event anyway, I'm saying, but I think maybe iBuyPower is, or not iBuyPower, United 5 is the only team that probably plays a little bit more than us, but we play almost every single day, and I think we get five or six scrims in every night for the most part, and we get a lot of practice in as well. So I'm not worried as far as preparation is concerned. I couldn't be more prepared for this LAN as far as strats and stuff are concerned. But
I was actually going to ask you about what you thought about your preparation, so I guess that kind of answers it.
yeah, I think that we're going to be fine as far as preparation is concerned, unless things go really, really bad for us.
So how does y'all's practice work? Are y'all more like scrim heavy, or do y'all dry run stuff a lot, or like maybe?
We dry run the strats that we know we're going to struggle with, like strats that take smokes or flashes that we know we could fail. So for those types of strats, we end up dry running quite a bit. We also dry run our default like a lot. So yes, we are a team that dry run. We are also a team that tend to focus very little on our scrims, and by that I mean we don't worry about the win. I'm gonna say I don't worry about the team. I don't know about my like there are players on my team that get really upset because we lose a lot of scrims. But like if you check our scrim record, you laugh. But I'm not that worried that we lose scrims. Pardon me?
As I check your scrim record. It's
bad. It's bad, right? You just laughed. I heard it.
I did. I laughed because you made a comment. Your actual scrim record. I didn't even see it yet. Anyway,
it's bad. So the only reason it's bad is because we consistently run. Well, I tend to consistently run the same strats. We make more mistakes in scrims than in matches. I know that for a fact. The reason is because we try to do things that, like, like, how you said Berrigan's is a very innovative team. That's what we try to do as far as scrims are concerned. And as far as T-side's concerned, we try to play the same. Well, sometimes I'll run the same strat 7 times in a row just so my team understands it. But that doesn't mean we don't care about the scrim. It just simply means that I'm trying to get my team to figure out every scenario in that strat. And I know I already have the plan in my head, so I know I have the strat in my head. But if I call the same strat 7 rounds in a row, it only helps them, my teammates, I'm saying. And it helps them figure out what happens when this happens, what happens when that happens in that particular strat. And I feel like when it all comes together and when it really, really matters, that's only going to help us. So scrims really, I mean, we always lose the scrims. Ever since CSGO started, we don't win many scrims at all.
Gotcha.
As a team. I think the main reason is because we're really easy to read because I run the same strat like 100 times. So.
Right. So I'll talk about homeless just really quick from my perspective, since this is kind of a LAN preview section of the show. I mean, I'm confused about how they'll play. I don't really know what to expect. They didn't have that great of a regular season, but I know that they struggled with practice and stuff with Steel's being in Europe. So with that being said, I don't think they have the best preparation going to this event, probably. They probably could have better preparation. But there's just something about when Steel, Frost, and Neil play together, they seem to do really, really well. On LAN with that core members from their source lineup. So I'm kind of curious to see. I actually haven't really even seen Steel compete because I mean he was on like Dignitas and some other teams in Europe, and they kind of all faded away because the UK scene seems to be pretty rough right now in CS:GO.
The only
go ahead.
player I know for a fact is absolutely insane, or can be really, really insane at his peak, is Frost. I think that he. Do you know that game you just talked about with Quantic beating Berrigan's 2-0 at ESEA LAN? Frost
he was hopping crazy, yeah.
Yeah, he top fragged that particular BO3.
Yep.
Like, just way above his team.
Mm-hmm.
If he could pull that off, that team will do really well. And
yeah.
I'm not just saying him, but like his team plays decently, I think that they'll be fine too. And I feel like that's what the advantage that they have going into this LAN is. Sure, they don't have enough preparation, but what they do have is the experience.
I'm curious who's even calling for them. Is it Steel, maybe? I'm not really sure. I
Maybe
don't. This is
Team
like the dark
ESEA.
horse. I tried to actually reach out to this team to talk to them, like I did with you and Complexity and iPower, because I want to try. Originally, my goal was to do all the teams before the LAN started, but it just didn't work out that way. They didn't get back to me. So This is a team I'm kind of have a big question mark about because their roster's gone through a lot of changes this season, and like I said, it's just weird. So I don't really know what to expect from them. They're kind of like the dark horse team to me. They could either come out doing some amazing things that people don't expect, or they could be like a team that may bottom out. I have no idea. There's no way to know until we see them play against you guys first, right? So how do you think you'll do against this team on LAN?
I think that, like I said, I mean, if we're comfortable, I think that we could beat them. I'm not going to say we will, but I think we could. Thing is, I can't really gauge how good we are because we've never played a LAN match, period. I can't really say that we could beat a team or we can't beat a team.
Right.
That to me just sounds like, like I'm. That's the only answer you're gonna get from me is we could, but we can't. Like I can't give you a straight answer there. I can just say that we're as prepared as we can be, and we practice a lot. So it'd be really, really disappointing for us if we get raped on the first BO3 and then get raped on the second BO3. So I mean, I'm hoping that we could do really, really well.
I'm going to take you guys in this set. That's my personal prediction. I think you'll move on in the upper bracket on this one. I think it goes all 3 maps, though. I think
that's all I needed, Dust. Now I'm going to win.
Yeah, you're going to win now. Or if you lose, you're like, I'm apparently like the
You jinxed me, dude.
Yep. So it's there you go. You pretty much gave both possibilities. So the only team we haven't really talked about a whole lot yet is United 5, which I guess we'll talk about them now because their opening matchup is actually against iBuyPower. So this is the second. Basically the way this works is I'll just let you know because they just released a broadcast guide on ESEA for the LAN. So the All-Star game's at 5 o'clock. I have no idea how that works now. Then at 6:30 is when you play Homeless, and this is Central Time, by the way. So this would be 7:30 Eastern. And then at 9 o'clock or 10 Eastern, iBuyPower plays U5. So U5, it has like Warden Storm. Everybody knows those two guys. I don't really need to say anything else about them. They dropped Fraud because he couldn't play, had work, and then they pick up.
Alright. TM's good online.
So then they pick up TM, who was like this player that comes out of nowhere to CS:GO because he was playing. He was part of that original Hold Mouse 1 Curse lineup, and then he didn't even play like a full season. He just kind of left the game for a full season, and he comes back, plays with Reliable. Now he's playing with United 5. He's doing pretty well in United 5, in my opinion. And then they have Moses, who played with Dynamic and Main last season, but this is his first season of Invite of CS:GO. And then they have XP3, who was playing Pro Shoot Mania for the longest time, but also has a huge experience in 1.6 and does pretty well in Go, it seems like, as well. So this is a team that, once again, 2 LANs in a row, they've been invited rather than automatically seeding because of a tiebreaker situation. Last event, they didn't necessarily do that well. I mean, they won some matches, but they still wound up placing like maybe 4th or 5th.
They were up like 8-0 versus Cole to start that LAN off. So I'm very surprised when they crashed. I thought they'd at least get that map.
So what are your thoughts on this team? And then after you tell me that, how do you think they'll do against iBuyPower in the opening match?
Honestly, I've played United 5 more than any other team in Invite this season. And I mean like practice more for the LAN. So I think we played them like 4 or 5 times out of our 15 scrims that we played in the last 4 days. So based on what I've seen, I think that they could beat iBuyPower, and I think that they have it in them. They have the experience. They have, I think that they have the. I think that they might not have been able to do it. Fraud. No offense to Fraud, but I just don't think that he has put in enough time in the game. I think TM is exactly what they needed. I think that now that they're putting a lot of time, which they hadn't last season, they can beat iBuyPower. Like, I really do think that they can. I think that it's it's going to be a very close game. I don't think the iBuyPower is just going to trash them. I really don't. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think United 5 is a good team. I think they've improved a lot with XP3, and with the addition of XP3, now I think Calling and TM being like their Mad Fragger type player, and like not being afraid of just running out first and going for kills and stuff like that. Plus, one thing I did see from United 5 in these recent scrims that we played against them, which I never saw before, was the amount of preparation, like the amount of strats that they have set. So like usually I just see them running around, and like I don't see any actual preparation or any type of real playstyle from them.
Right.
And I'm talking about like during the season. But now that they're practicing, I really do see that in them. It's really difficult to play with versus them now because they play a lot more passive, and then they do an actual strat. They run strats, and they're pretty hard to beat now. So based on that, I think that they could be, they are able to beat iBuyPower, I think.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious. Well, it's kind of gonna be weird because this is the first time that XP3 and Moses will play CS:GO on LAN that I'm aware of. But I don't really expect that to really hurt either one of them because they have rich LAN experience in other games. Then of course TM's already kind of proved himself on LAN last LAN, even though his team didn't do that well. He did pretty well for himself, so I feel confident he'll be fine. And then of course Storm and Warden, these guys have been to more LANs than I've watched, so I'm pretty sure that they'll be fine. So if you had to predict who would win between iBuyPower and U5, could you closely predict the winner there, or is it
I'm
too
gonna
close to
go
call?
ahead and again make a safe bet and say iBuyPower wins 2-1.
Okay, I like that. I can dig that. So then that would put you against iBuyPower in the upper bracket finals in my eyes.
That's when we just leave the whole LAN, just go home. We cannot beat iBuyPower for some reason. So.
You cannot. Come on, dude. Give yourself some credit.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm sure we'll be fine as far as, you know, if we could win our first game. I think it's one game, right, that day, and then the rest is on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
yes.
how it works?
Yeah.
Yeah,
after
so,
your match, after
like
you're
I said,
done. Yeah.
and I'll keep saying this: if we can get comfortable at the LAN, and by comfortable I mean actually comfortable, like sitting down, everything is perfect. We can hear stuff, everything's all right. There's no excuses. We'll be fine. But any of that stuff can easily happen to any of us. So that's the drawback.
So if you had to, let's just do this now, then, and then
I want to play very games. That's what I will say. I really, really want to play very games.
You gotta win a couple of matches to get there. Well, I'm curious.
No,
I would like to see Titan.
That's not how it works, isn't it? Isn't it? If we win, we play Cole or very games.
Yeah, if you win, you're right. If you win Homeless, you either play Cole or very games, depending on how it seeds. So you're right.
So if we beat Homeless, then I really, 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 and this might sound really stupid to the people watching right now, but I really want to play very games, like really badly.
It'd be neat to see how they react to another North American team.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen it yet.
Like the third North American team to ever play them, I think.
Right.
I don't even know.
That's absolutely correct. Nit's played a few throughout the lands they've been to, but yeah, you're right. The only you would be the third different team to play them between Cole and iBuyPower underneath different editions. So let's just go ahead now. By the way, you can forward those questions to me now, Fatal. We'll ask a few of those, but while I'm waiting for you to forward those questions, I was just gonna ask, can we maybe try to give if we were gonna do our placing predictions for the LAN? You want to try that? Want to take a stab at it?
For the LAN?
Yeah, just the placings.
Don't do this to me, dude.
I mean, come on, it's just that fun thing, so we can all look back at ourselves and laugh when we're wrong or whatever.
I'm gonna go ahead and go with the predictions ESEA already made. All right.
What are the ones they already made? Was it the contender pretender article thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that those are perfectly fine. I mean, they seem very realistic to me, and I think that 75% of people would agree with me there. That all those maybe. Honestly, anything can happen between us, Homeless, and that other team, United 5. Anything can happen between us three. We can just win, or we could lose. Anyone can beat anybody. And then the other top three, like iBuyPower, Cole, and Very Games. I think Very Games will be first. I think I'm honestly hoping iBuyPower will be second and Cole will be third, simply because Cole trolled too much when they were playing scrims versus us. So now I hate them. So just for wasting my time, I hope they're third.
I'm gonna go Complexity, Titan, iBuyPower, Mousespaz, United 5, Homeless. That's my 6 right there in that order. That's what I'm gonna go with.
All right.
So I'll look back on this video and kick myself when Mousespaz wins the whole event, or
yeah.
Whatever.
You already said we're winning, right? So
I think like I said, this is your chance to make a name for yourself, and I think that you have nothing to lose, right? So if you place 4th or 5th at the event, no one's going to be entirely shocked about it, and you probably won't catch too much flack unless some of you guys just go like horribly negative in stats or something. But at the same time, if you guys can place like 3rd or better, then all of a sudden you start turning people's heads a little bit. People have to pay attention to you a little bit more.
Well, that would be awesome for one, not just for us, but for the scene.
Yes, absolutely.
There's only 2 North American teams right now that can even get remotely close to competing in international tournaments. Sure, the rest of us don't get any chances to compete, but like you said, this is our chance to, you know, place well and then maybe turn a few heads and then maybe go to a couple international tournaments.
So I
With
feel you have nothing to lose at this event. You have only things to gain, in my
yeah.
opinion. So that's kind of where I'll leave it. And now we
Which
have.
is why I want to play very games, is because I don't want to leave without playing an international team.
I can understand. Like I don't think, like you said earlier, people are gonna think I'm stupid for saying this, but I understand completely like where you're coming from, and I hope that happens for you. Maybe we'll set it up to where you guys get to play them regardless. Like we'll just do a
It's a
show
nice
match,
all-star game.
a nice show match or something. Speaking of the All-Star game, I don't know how that's gonna work, but I think I have a question about it here, so I'm just gonna go to questions now. Cool.
Okay.
So first question comes from, of course. Let me try this really quick. Father Pujamitha. I'm gonna go with that. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Sorry, I got father, and then I didn't know anything past that. So this is kind of a troll question, maybe. How do you, how does it feel to be a semi-professional gamer? How has it affected your performance as a McMaster?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. So what else do you do besides gaming, basically, I guess? Like, what is your main focus in life? I guess we'll just do
school,
that.
that's about it. I don't work at all.
Like,
Never
like
have.
where are you at in
Not
your
till for a while.
education, like, progression? Like, where are you
What do you
at?
mean? Where I'm on my 4th year right now.
Of
Almost
undergrad?
done. Yeah.
What are you getting your degree in?
In accounting right now, but
Oh, God. Okay.
you
You're
know,
going to make that mad money when you get out.
no, I won't. But well, it depends. Depends on my father, really. But we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Okay. All right. Somebody asks, what do you think is the main advantages or disadvantages that you have over teams at this LAN versus what they have over you at LAN? Like, so basically, like, what advantages and disadvantages do you see yourself having at this event? I'll just sum it up to that.
The advantage that we have is what you said. We don't have anything to lose, and I think that disadvantage is probably the fact that none of us have actually been to a CS:GO LAN yet, so things could go easily. No matter how much we prepare right now online, things can just completely be like that time could just easily have been wasted if we just completely suck and blow it, just because we've had no experience. We go into it, thinking we're gonna do well, and then we just don't. Like that could really hurt us as a team, and yeah, I mean, I think that would be the only real disadvantage I think that we're at as a team.
So this, I had a question in chat that kind of ties to this whole inexperience at CS:GO LANs. Somebody made the point that Lucky hasn't played any LANs in his career. Is that true?
Yeah.
So, are you worried that it's going to be like another Mousespaz story for him, or do you think he'll be fine?
I don't even think he's worried about that. And as long as he's
Okay.
not worried about that, then there's no reason for us to be worried about that.
Also, do not take words out of my mouth and make this seem like I am bashing Mousespaz. Someone already did this last episode. I'm so sick of people trying to stir the drama pot. Like, he knows he did bad that event too, but he has every chance this next event to prove that he can do fine. And he's a good player, so please stop. I'm sorry, I had to do that disclaimer.
It's fine.
I'm sick of getting PMs. What's up?
Yeah, I don't think he's worried about it, so I don't think we need to be worried about it. I think whatever happens, happens. I guess. I mean, if he gets, if he plays well, then, things are only looking up for him. If he doesn't play well, like you said, we have nothing to lose. We can try again. So, I mean, it could go either way, to be honest. I can't really predict much as far as how our performance is going to go individually or as a team.
Cool. So one question comes in from Fury about the All-Star game. I think it's going to be a 10-man type thing where I think the casters are going to pick teams for it. I think that's how it's supposed to work. So, how do you think that's going to go? And if you had to pick, who do you think from your team might be in the game? If it was a 10-man style like draft.
Isn't it? Well, I think Slip told me that it was like, Very Game. One player from Very Games is a captain, and one player from Cole is a captain.
Okay, is that what it is?
And they just
okay.
pick, but Very Games can only pick one European player, and then they have to pick, because it's only one per team, and then they'd have to pick the rest from other North American teams.
Right.
So it'd be 2 Very Games players, 3 North American players, and then the other team will have 5 North
I don't know if there's a limit on if every team has to be represented in the All-Star game or not either. Like, I'm not 100% sure.
I think there is. I think
Okay.
you can
It
only
makes sense.
pick one player per team.
Okay. So, how do you think, like, who do you think from your team would play in it then, if you had to, like, guess?
Since Tico is real good friends with Slip, I'd go ahead and say probably Slip. Most likely Slip's going to be in the All-Star game.
And how do you think this All-Star game will go? Is the European, more solid team going to have a better chance, or... Does that wait? Does that mean Cole can pick a Very Games player to be on their team?
Actually, I don't even know. I don't know exactly how it is.
They just released it, so I haven't read through it yet, so I don't even really know how it works.
Probably, I'm sure that they can pick one.
Okay.
So yeah, just one of. Yeah, I guess they can pick one. So based on how it will go, I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't even think any of those teams will care. It'll just be kind of a fun thing, right? So,
yeah. It's just a show match for the most part, I think. I have a question from Lucky, your teammate, and he wants to know, why is he so much better than you at this game?
He's digging himself a huge hole, man.
All right, well that's it. That's your answer. Cool. So someone asked, and I'll just turn this into like a bigger question, is who do you think, like, who plays the most on your team, and how much do you guys play in general?
Oh, probably me and Cutler play a lot. Sobo plays a lot, and then Slip works a lot now, so he doesn't play much. But during the holidays, me and Cutler played a lot of CS, and I guess Sobo as well, and Lucky too. Actually, the only one that didn't play a lot was Slip because he'd have to work. But what was the other part of the question?
Oh, just wondering, like, in general, how much do you guys play? Which I think you kind of already answered, that you guys have been prepping a lot for this. So.
Yeah, we play a lot now, more so than we did during the season. I mean, we get a lot more scrims in. This season we got like 1 or 2 scrims in a night, maybe, if we're even lucky. Now we get in like probably 5 or 6 before we go to bed. Especially because it was a break for a lot of us after exams, so we just played a lot. So it was a good time. It was good timing for us, I guess.
Right on. So I'm trying to sift through chat, and like almost all the questions I see at this point are troll questions, so I'm not gonna bother. But do you have any shout-outs or anything that you wanted to say before the episode comes to a close, or just any thoughts you wanted to get out there?
Just shout out to Mousespaz for helping us out, helping us get to LAN. Shout out to SND for helping us financially get to the LAN, and I guess shout out to Shenlong and Nox and everybody in the Mousespaz mobile. That's about it. Alright.
Well, other than that, I don't really have anything else, it looks like. So I just want to say I appreciate you tuning in. Everybody out there, I appreciate FNS from doing this for me. He was really, really easy to get in touch with, and he was really responsive, which for someone trying to run a show like myself, that's like the best you could hope for. So I really appreciate you helping out. Also, just want to let everybody know that if you're just tuning in, I'm sorry you missed pretty much the entire episode on the live stream version, but it will be on VOD on a Twitch highlight on this channel, as well as going on my YouTube channel, and I'll go ahead and get those links posted in chat for you folks so you can follow up and subscribe to all those different things there, and that'll pretty much guarantee that you get access to the full VOD. I wanted to let you guys know that I plan on having another episode of The Hype shortly after ESEA LAN to like just basically do a post-LAN episode to talk about what happened at the event and stuff like that. And I'm not sure who will join me for that yet. In all honesty, I'll probably wait and see like how the results go, and obviously I'd probably pick a player from like the 1st or 2nd place team or something. That way it would just be like something that most people would want to see, an interview of like the top player at the event or something. So we'll just go from there. Other than that, that's about it. I'm gonna let Finesse go. I'm gonna stay on stream for a little bit longer if you want to ask me questions, and I'll be playing if you guys want to hang out. But other than that, that's the end of the episode of The Hype. And once again, just a big shout out to Finesse from coming on, and I appreciate it, man.
No problem. Peace.
All right, have a good one. So there you have it, another episode of The Hype in the books. I thought it was a great episode because unlike the other 2 episodes with Complexity and iBuyPower, where folks probably already knew a lot about those teams, or at least knew who they were and who their players were. This gave you an opportunity to maybe see a team and players that don't necessarily get as much publicity because they're not out there competing in international events yet. They're not, this, like I said, this is their first CS:GO LAN ever. So what the other episodes have done is give you a more in-depth understanding of these teams that you already knew about, but it just gave you a more clear vision or description, analysis, whatever you want to call it, of teams you already knew about. But what this episode did, I think, was it let you learn about a team that you may not have known anything about for the most part. And I hope that maybe I can do that in the future. Get teams on here that aren't necessarily as well known as iBuyPower and Cole are, and talk to them. And I also hope that I can get maybe some of the CS:GO streamers in here, like Eclipse or Shroud, Sir Scoots, who started to stream CS:GO a lot. Of course, Hiko's and Nothing are doing really well. So I want to try to get, basically I'm looking to get more teams on here like I have so far. I want to get some of the streamers out there on here, talk to some of the streamers, and then there's other names in the community, like maybe other commentators, and get their take on things, or other players or streamers and get their take on things. So that's kind of my goal for the future with this show. And then of course this show might be more news driven, since I'm running out of teams to interview, so it might talk more about game updates, tournament results, things of that nature. I might move more in that like weekly news or bi-weekly news type format as well with a lot of my episodes. So all I can guarantee you is that the next episode, episode 4, will be a post-LAN episode, just talking about what happened at the LAN and stuff like that. And then past that, it's just kind of up in the air. I've been cranking out these episodes really quickly, if you haven't noticed. I've done 3 episodes in, I think, less than 2 weeks. So in the future, after this post-LAN episode, I think that this episode, the hype will either go to a once-a-week type deal or a once every 2 weeks type deal, something like that. And that's kind of how I'm probably going to do it. And other than that, my schedule is at the bottom, by the way. If you want to know when I stream, it labels it out at the bottom of the page. That's my schedule. That's when I'll be streaming from here on out until summer vacation for me, probably. Then I'll be streaming a shit ton during summer vacation, most likely. But other than that, if you guys have questions, cool, stick around. If not, I'm about to play